are hot, and The View is live. Heroes and hope. The kids who fought back during the Colorado school shooting, and how they're demanding adults grow up and work together to find solutions. Plus, Oscar winner Anne Hathaway talks about doing the hustle with Rebel Wilson, and if she'd answer the call to play a female James Bond. And Dr. Jennifer Ashton shares how her family was shattered after her ex-husband took his own life and how they picked up the pieces. Here come Hot Topics with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
So, STEM school students in Colorado who bravely fought back against the shooters are being honored in the wake of the tragedy, including Kendrick Castillo, who made the ultimate sacrifice to save his fellow classmates. Here's what his dad said about losing him.
My life stopped yesterday when I found out the news that he was deceased. You know, I mean, literally we wake up and go to work every day and come home. We do things together for him. No, that's not there. You know, it's taken from us. But he did what he had to do, and I knew that was my son's nature. That was who he was. He's going to protect people.
Yes, he told his son not to be a hero in an active shooter situation. And his son answered that he was raised to help other people and wouldn't think twice about taking action, because that's how he was raised by his mom and dad. And unfortunately, isn't this the wake-up call that we all have to have these conversations with our kids now?
Yeah.
But how many wake-up calls do we have to have?
As many as it takes.
And how many more lives have to be taken?
As many as it takes.
You know, I think that is the hardest part, is just this keeps happening and happening and happening. And he's a hero. That he was an only child, but the school was his family. Yeah. And so he lunged to stop the shooter, or to try to just give the students some time to hide. And he obviously saved many lives, but my issue is that the kids are the adults in this conversation. It is the kids, time and time again, that are saying, we need a change. Yeah. We don't want to live in fear anymore. Yeah. We don't want to lose the friends that we love. Why are they the ones that are handling this? Yeah. DC's not handling it. The adults aren't handling it. It's the kids.
It is the shame of this country that the children have to protect their other children. Yeah. It is the shame of this country, and that we have so many feckless leaders who do nothing about this situation. How many children have to die before somebody does something? Well, it was in New Zealand. It took one mass shooting for them to ban all assault weapons. Not that this was an assault weapon situation,
no, it was not.
But many of them are. In Australia, it took just days to ban automatic and semi-automatic weapons. They took a stand. Of course, they don't have a Second Amendment.
We mocked kids who took a stand. We mocked them. We mocked families who lost children in Sandy Hook. So how do we get that conversation going? Because clearly the divide line is not working.
You know, 18 years old, to have your life stolen from you, as the mother of a 16-year-old, I was so horrified. I cried, but as Joy said, you know, our kids are having to protect each other.
Yes.
And it's mortifying that that's the state of our country. I know when we had Dr. Jill Biden here yesterday, as a teacher, she said one of the things that she does first day of class is that she has to teach her kids about active shooter situations. Yes. That wasn't my first day of class.
No.
My first day of class was about learning about my other classmates. And so I think the change starts with our vote. you know, she said that Joe Biden would take care of this.
Right.
And so
But we
we've got
know
to
that
vote people
folks have
out that aren't
tried.
going to take care of this.
People have tried to take care of it. People have, on both sides, people have tried to take care of it. So the question is, since the conversations are so polarized, how do we get past the polarized part and actually start having the conversation? Because, you know, politicians have been shot at, you know, children are getting shot at. So there's a conversation that isn't happening, and I'm trying to figure out why
I think
not.
they have to
I will
follow
say-
the money, don't you, and see where all this money is going. Usually, that's the situation. That's what's really behind everything like this.
Or is it power?
There was a vigil yesterday with these students and at Highlands Ranch High School, and there were actually two politicians, Senator Michael Bennet and Congressman Jason Crow, who were speaking out about the need for gun control. And actually, several hundred students walked out chanting mental health because they want more emphasis on what's going on with like these alleged shooters who had a history of mental health issues. And as we know, there were people in the past that had been flagged by the FBI numerous times and then somehow let loose. And I think that it's a holistic conversation as well, not just about gun laws, which is a valid one, obviously, but also about why we aren't paying attention to people who are struggling, who have serious problems, who aren't in control of themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's also something we need to
But
be
I have a
focusing
question.
on as well.
I mean, every country has mentally ill people, and yet they're not having these mass shootings. So people have to think about that.
Well, these kids also said we don't want to be used as political props, and I think that is so well taken.
I think the politicians went too soon.
I don't disagree.
I don't think they were. I don't think they should have been there yesterday. I think the kids should have had the time to be with each other, and because that's the response you get. I like the direction you're going in.
Because it's multifactorial,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
agree with
Yes.
you.
It's not just one
It's
thing.
not just one
Right.
thing.
It takes a person to pull the trigger.
Exactly.
Right? And then who is that person behind the gun, and how do you get to that point?
There are a lot of factors. I
Yeah.
think sort of gun control certainly is a factor, but mental illness is also a factor. And I think our teens are under so much stress at this point. There have been studies that say 20% of youth ages 13 to 18 live with mental health conditions, including depression and anxiety. And in fact, in 2018, the American Psychological Association found that youth aged 15 to 21 are especially concerned about guns and school shootings,
Yes.
and they are more likely to report mental health issues.
Yeah.
And so at this point, they're not only dealing with teen angst, they're also concerned about being shot at school.
But in Florida now, they
So it's all
have
together.
Ron DeSantis is trying to pass a law. I don't know if it's done yet. That the teachers should have guns now. They think that more guns is the solution.
Can I
It's
just
not.
say one more thing? Kendrick Castillo, who was the student that died, he idolized his grandfather who served in the Marines, and he kept the flag that was draped over his grandfather's coffin close to him. And his dad said he loved patriotism. We are Hispanic by nature, but we love America to the core. And I think that's a really beautiful message, and it's really horrific that we have to be talking about this horrible tragedy. But kids like this really make you feel hopeful about the future, just in the sense that he loved America and he sacrificed himself, but it is a horrific.
It is horrific.
But it was just a week ago, Whoopi, it was Riley Howell. You remember what happened at UNC? Riley Howell, who's 21 years old, he was the one that charged the gunman, knocking him down.
Yes.
You always want to think you'll step up in these situations and you will help, but I can't imagine the fear you're in that moment.
And a few days ago, Brendan Biley, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Biley, 18 years old, there was another...
He helped pin the gun
He helped
down.
pin...
Yeah.
This is another kid, at the same time, helped disarm one of the suspects here.
And all those kids in Florida,
So did
and all
Joshua
those
Jones.
kids are, look, this is where we are right now. This is where we are. So, in the words of, well, it's not exactly the words, but cleaner, we either have to poop or get off the pot, because this is no longer acceptable. And we've seen it take the lives of little tiny kids, and we've seen it take the lives of 18-year-olds, and at some point, we're going to have to figure this out, or we're going to have a whole bunch of kids who are moving this way because they don't want to be shot, and that should never be what you think about at school. We'll be back.
Later, Don Jr. subpoenaed. Does a Republican-led Senate committee still want answers on what he knew about plans to build a Trump Tower in Moscow?
I promise that you'll never find another like me.
You'll never find more fierce, strong, independent women than right here on The View.
5 women, this is how it's done, sweetheart.
And there's a lot of cool chicks out there.
Only on The View do you get this information.
And this May, just look who's voicing their view. Anne Hathaway, Amy Hathaway, and Dr. Jennifer Ashton opens up about life after her ex-husband's suicide.
Okay, welcome back. Alex, happy birthday. I didn't forget. We got into another... It was just... I couldn't just... You know. And
Today's her birthday.
Today is her birthday. Was many years ago today. Not that many. It was like a couple of years.
Oh, you were a little scared of your daughter.
No, but you know, when, you know, she wants to be here for bring your kid to work day, and I don't call. And then I forgot to say happy birthday. I sent her a whole bunch of stuff, but happy birthday, Alex.
Happy birthday, Alex.
Happy birthday, Alex. Yes. Was born at 11 o'clock in the morning after, I'm not even going to tell you, so many hours I couldn't even believe it. But your daughter just had a birthday, too.
She did. She's officially a teenager as of May 4th on Saturday. And what was so great was Warner Brothers allowed us to screen Pokemon Detective Pikachu with a bunch of her friends on Saturday. And the movie comes out tomorrow. And
So cute.
These kids love that movie so much.
Yeah.
I would encourage everyone to go out and see it because, I mean, I haven't heard teenagers laugh that much at basically an animated film. I mean, it was unbelievable. So,
All right.
So thank you, Warner Brothers, for doing that for me.
Thank you, Warner Brothers. Sorry. Now, the Republican...
I like that. Please do that again.
That was good. Yeah.
Well, I just, you know...
I like that version of that.
Yeah. We should all do it. On three. One, two, three.
You do it.
Thank you.
They're going to use that in an ad.
That's what I'm afraid of. So the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee is not done talking with
an oxymoron.
Donnie Jr.
Senate intelligence.
There's a lot of speculation that they may want a couple more answers about how much knowledge he had about the Trump Tower Moscow plan. You know, that's to build the big hotel in Moscow. And some sources say he may plead the fifth.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
Don Jr.
I just don't understand. Well, one, I don't understand why they have to subpoena him because he's already spoken to this committee and he voluntarily spoke to the committee. And he said at that time that he was just tangentially aware of this Moscow project. But then Michael Cohen testified that he had 10 meetings with Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump to talk to them about the Moscow Tower project.
And they both said they were really peripherally involved. There wasn't really much involved. What's so interesting about this, it's the first congressional subpoena that we know of for a Trump family member.
That tells me that he didn't want to voluntarily come
But
back.
it's also a bipartisan effort.
Yes.
Senator Burr, who's well respected in Republican circles.
He's a Republican.
But
And
in
Mark
my
Warner,
opinion, I feel
Democrat.
like Senator Burr, his job, he doesn't want to be lied to. He wants to get to the bottom of what happened, and clearly there's still some question marks, so we don't really know exactly why they want to bring him back.
Well, it must be. Is Mike Cohen telling the truth? Were you briefed 10 times, or were you just peripherally involved?
I don't understand this either because he did 8 to 9 hours of testimony in front of Senate Intel already and 27 hours of testimony in front of various committees in total. That's a lot of testifying.
Yeah.
And I want to know if he's going to be out in front of Congress. You're making me laugh, Whoopi. He's going to be pulled out in front of Congress, and, you know, we're going to watch it live because this is a guy, you have to think about how insulated he is. He pretty much only does interviews with people who are like-minded, people on Fox. You know, he's in circles where he's like a beloved figure. And it'll be interesting to see someone who's insulated as a beloved figure be forced to testify in front of people who...
Is he beloved?
In Trump circles,
In
yeah.
his circle.
But Trump-based people.
I think he also feels kind
I mean,
of...
no, I'm just...
He also feels...
I'm like...
Who's beloved?
But I just
Donald
he's
Trump
not doing
Jr.
he's not
He's
doing
beloved,
interviews
really?
on
Right. He's not
Sunday
going out.
shows
Yeah,
with
he's not going
coming
out.
here.
Yeah.
But I also think he feels vindicated right now because remember there was all this talk about, you know, is Trump Jr. going to go to jail, you know, once we hear more about the Mueller report. And if you read his tweets right after the report came out, I mean, he feels like there was a lot to celebrate. So it'd be interesting to
I don't
see.
know if he
say
feels that way now.
They all say that,
read
though.
it.
They all say I'm exonerated, case closed. Meanwhile, the Democrats are sending them subpoenas up the wazoo.
Isn't this what you
So it's not
wanted,
so
though?
easy.
Didn't you want to see Tim testify, Joy? Wasn't
I would
this
love
one
to
of your...
see every one of them on television testifying. Yes, I would. That is must-see TV.
Why? Is it so that you can gauge their truthfulness?
Yeah.
Do you want
I
to
can
gauge
tell when
their
people- I
credibility?
can tell when they're lying.
But I do think
I'm a
it's
little
so-
bit worried. I'm wondering about this Burr, this Senator Burr. It's like really all of a sudden a Republican doing the right thing.
He's a
It
really
sounds
great
weird.
guy. No, he's actually known for being
Yeah,
really
but see, you
bipartisan.
can't do that. You can't
Yeah.
do that. If you know, we've been saying
a truly
how
decent-
come
I'm a
is,
skeptic.
why aren't they Well, somebody's standing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody is standing up and say, I
Keep
don't.
your eye on it.
Well,
Yeah.
the fact that he said out loud, I want to see him in my office. It's like on the principles. I want to see him in my office this afternoon.
And a
I
subpoena
like that.
means you
they're
better
not-
come.
Yeah, you better come
to my office.
Well, you know, I used to think that.
Doesn't it mean you have to and you'll go to
Yes.
jail if you don't?
That's,
what it
yes.
that's what it used
Okay.
to
We'll
be. when
find
I
out,
sent
Steve
them.
Mnuchin, won't we? We'll find out if you end
He's gotta go to jail,
Well,
Mnuchin.
we'll find out if you
Lock
go to
him
jail
up.
because there's a
going to jail.
subpoena.
I'm not going to jail. I don't
either.
go to jail. I didn't take a Trump Tower.
Been there, done that. We'll be right back.
Sun care.
Yes, girl. Hey, now welcome back. There's a new reality show hitting TLC called Smothered. It's about moms and daughters who take their relationship to new extremes. Take a look.
The strongest influence in her life, and without my blessing, I doubt if she'll take it to the next step with you.
Would you accept my love?
This is not right.
What do you want me to do? Give it back?
Yeah.
You know, can I just ask a question?
There's a water shortage, apparently.
Oh, is that what you're going to ask?
I think I said in the meeting.
That's like, remember when we were elsewhere, we had the housewives on.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies' mother, she was having trouble with her mother. And we had the mother and the daughter,
would
it was
know.
Candy.
Oh, yeah, Candy Burris. Yeah,
Right.
and her mom.
And her mom.
Mama Joyce.
Mama Joyce.
And her
we
husband
said,
You see, I
Todd.
said Megan's gonna know.
Yeah. And we said, you need to back off and let her make her own decision.
Yeah.
The woman is over 25.
Yes, yes.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And the bath water?
This is so disgusting. It's so disgusting.
Not only did they do that, they let it get filmed
Yeah.
for us to talk about how it feels.
Yeah.
So gross.
Taking it to a new level.
People do anything to be on
Disgusting.
television. Look at us.
I wouldn't get in bath water with my mom.
No, I wouldn't get in bath water with y'all.
Oh,
I know.
I'm so close to my mom. Actually, speaking of baths,
But do you
my
take
mom.
baths together?
No, my mom takes a bath every night, and she passed it down to me.
Had a
but
little break there before. I was afraid she was going to say,
I know. I was like, oh no.
No, because bath time, like I remember coming home after like hanging out with friends and my mom would be in the bath and I would sit on the bathroom floor and that's when we had like some of our most memorable conversations together. I would tell her everything. No, I would never share her bath water. I'm sorry. You can drain it and you can refill the bath. But like I understand the relationship and the bond you have
When
as
they're
a
little,
mom.
when they're small, we can take a bath with your
For
child.
how long though? What is the cutoff age?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
no,
I
they
never-
release in the water.
Yeah. I never did that.
I'm not sitting in there with that.
I never did that, but I
No,
have friends
not
that have done
In the
that.
bath? No, not that young. A little bit older, when they're toilet trained.
So
Listen.
what is the age bracket?
Toilet training.
No.
After they're toilet trained, then you can take them
Until-
home.
No,
I feel like a hard no, too.
No.
No.
Yeah.
It's a hard no.
No,
I'm actually with Joy on this one. I think it's okay.
no.
Nada.
Do you remember somebody we know very well used
Yes.
to do that with her daughter?
Yes.
And they were very...
it was
To
really
what age?
ridiculous.
To what age?
25.
No.
We'll be right back.
Oscar winner and star of The Hustle, Anne Hathaway, gets you the real deal on an epic online conspiracy theory about her and her husband. Next.
I'm always amazed that actors can just start crying like at the drop of a hat. How do you do that?
What do you think about in that moment?
I try not to think, actually. I'm trying really hard not to think. I don't know. It just, you know what's coming up, and so you kind of think about what would make the character, like what would make them emotional. And then I read something Bryan Cranston said once, which is he said, when you know you have a big crying scene, drink a lot of water 3 days before so you don't get dehydrated. And it works. Bryan
and then the
Cranston knows
tears
how to
come.
act, as it turns out.
So the tears come faster when you're hydrated, is that
Well, yeah, and you can do more takes because, you know, sometimes you would, I don't know, you could exhaust your tear ducts.
Wow.
Does that sound like it makes sense? That would great. That happens.
That is an amazing
absolutely
acting tip for those of you out there.
It would come in handy in your personal life also.
No, I use it for good.
Only for good. Could come in handy. Just saying.
So even though this film is a remake of the 1988 comedy Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which was very funny with Steve Martin and Michael Caine, yes, you believe that your con woman is not in fact rotten. Why not?
Well, I think, look, I think it's all contextual, but I do think there's a difference between female con artists and male con artists. Gosh, that's a hard thing to say. And I think that when you look at kind of the way the world is stacked currently and pay inequality, and you figure that women, depending on their race, make anywhere from like 54 cents on the dollar for every dollar a white man makes. It's up to 78 cents. Yeah. You figure we're the ones getting conned. The system's kind of rigged against us, so I don't think... So if you play by the rules... If you play by the rules, you are getting taken advantage of. So I don't think my character feels bad at all about taking money.
But that's like shoplifting because of the Trump administration. Well, I blame it on them if I lifted that lipstick.
How's that working out for you?
Here, I got a few items.
I would love to talk about your shoplifting past, but we have to move on. Okay, all-female reboots are a trend right now, and you're obviously on board for with Ocean's 8 and now with your new movie, The Hustle. Some people right now are calling for James Bond to be played by a woman. What do you think of that idea?
Why not? Yeah. Why not? I mean... think of, oh my gosh, like, isn't your mind exploding with ideas of women who would be amazing at it? It's so important to for all of us to see ourselves up there. And that was one of the reasons why I was so excited about making The Hustle. Because no, we're not at the absolute forefront of inclusion for everybody. We could have done a better job. But we did add to the conversation positively about gender, and I'm really proud of that.
You've always been, at least to me, a role model. I cannot tell you how many times I watched Princess
look alike. It's kind of weirding me out.
So well, I gotta tell you, my younger sister, when Princess Diaries came out, she was like 5. She generally thought I was you in the movie.
Oh my God.
For the longest time, and I'm like, that's the biggest compliment to me. Yes, it did. But then I'm allergic to cats, so when she found out that you had a cat in the movie, she's like, that explains it. But I do want to ask you about how your life has changed, because you do have a 3-year-old boy, and Meghan Markle and Prince Harry just had their boy.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's so beautiful.
Amy Schumer had her baby too.
Yes,
Like
a lot of
within
babies
hours
right now.
of each other. It's so
But you actually look to Prince William and Kate as inspiration.
Yeah. There was an article about a parenting technique that they did, and it was about how when they want to communicate with their kids, they get down on their level and make eye contact. That's important. And I started doing it, and I swear it made a difference, because not only was I able to communicate with him, and I think it empowered him, but I could see what he was seeing. Yes. You know, you look at the world.
How big it is.
How big it is, and that thing that feels totally normal that might be scary to him, or something that we might overlook, is really fascinating right at that level. So it was a good, you know, Kate and William, they're doing a good job.
Well, you also don't drink anymore.
I don't
raising
drink
kids,
anymore.
and you don't apologize.
I'm a traitor.
You don't apologize for anything.
That's not entirely true. I apologize when I need to, but I just find It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing growing up. And you ask me what's different, and I think about who I was when I made the Princess Diaries and how little confidence I had, but how ambitious I was. And those two things were not a comfortable mix for a very long time. And it took me a really long time. Actually, it took until having my son and connecting with a certain, I don't know, I just had a realization that inside every single one of us, there is something that is sacred and there's something that is pure. And I think it's important to acknowledge that in everyone, but we have to acknowledge it in ourselves. And when I started doing that, I didn't want to apologize for taking up space. So maybe in the beginning of my career, I would have come out here and I would have felt like I was wasting your time, or I would have felt like just really insecure, like I didn't have anything to say, or that if I did, it would come out wrong. And I don't feel like that person anymore. I'm really happy to be here with you. And I'm really happy to be here with all of you, you know?
Oh, I love that. This is so funny. You have the same name as William Shakespeare's wife, Anne Hathaway. I didn't know that. Some people have pointed out that your husband bears a striking resemblance to William Shakespeare.
Oh, wow.
Internet conspiracy theories think that this is more than a coincidence.
Wow.
Are you married to, I don't know,
A descendant, perhaps?
Yeah, a descendant of William Shakespeare.
Look at that.
I'm sorry, my husband is so cute.
So
He's just
cute.
so adorable.
So cute.
Shakespeare's cute too.
I don't know. I have no idea. But it did kind of become a thing.
Yeah.
It was a thing. And then one rumor was that we've been reincarnated together.
Oh, I really like that.
Which obviously is true, you guys. You know what? Let that part go viral. We intended this. We planned this back. 1602, we were like, let's do this again. And I'm like, but I want to wear pants this time.
Well, when your husband starts writing plays, then we'll know it's really true.
Exactly. Exactly.
It was so nice to have you here again. And The Hustle is in theaters tomorrow, just in time for Mother's Day. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Next, Dr. Jennifer Ashton shares how her family found strength, support, and hope after getting rocked by her ex-husband's tragic suicide. Ciara, after selling triple platinum records, marrying a Super Bowl winning quarterback, where does Ciara go to drop and debut her next big music video? On The View, of course. Tomorrow, don't miss Ciara. Exclusive, only on The View.
Welcome back. Well, the thought of a loved one taking his or her own life is a tragedy that no one can even imagine. But that became a reality for ABC News chief medical correspondent Dr. Jennifer Ashton when her ex-husband and father of her 2 children died by suicide. She opens up about it in her new memoir called Life After Suicide, Finding Courage, Comfort, and Community After Unthinkable Loss. And she joins us right now. Dr. Jennifer Ashton. Good to have you. Well, this hits close to home for me, and I would imagine every single person in this room in some way is connected to suicide. It was just 2 years ago, not that long ago, your ex-husband took his own life. You were co-parenting Alex and Chloe, 18 and 17. How are you 3 doing right now?
Well, first of all, thank you guys as my Fem tribe for having me here to talk about this, because we really are family. You know, we're doing, thank goodness, pretty well. We have our sad days for sure. We're incredibly lucky to have a great therapist. And, you know, we're all learning about this concept of post-traumatic growth, which I didn't even know was a thing. It's a real thing in psychology. And I think my daughter said it really well, and I talk about this in the book. She said that she remembers a week after Rob died thinking, I have 2 choices. I can let this destroy me, or I can use it to help me become a better person. Wow. And I feel like that's what we're all doing.
She's a mature woman.
It really unbelievable.
But you know, the one question that I'm sure you get all the time, when you look back, were there signs? Were there moments where you thought, maybe we should have noticed something was going on?
I mean, you can imagine as a doctor, married to a doctor for 22 years, that those questions go through my mind pretty much every day. Rob didn't have any of the classic signs that we learn about in medical school. And we had just gone through what we were calling an evolved divorce, which then in retrospect, I thought maybe the reason it was so evolved is because he was slowly pulling away from life. But, you know, no one who loses someone to suicide ever gets answers to those questions.
No.
Yeah.
They never come.
Yeah.
You never know.
And the proceeds of this book are being donated to suicide prevention organizations in Rob's honor. And we talked at this table a lot about suicide. And one of the things that comes with suicide in your sphere is the stigma.
Yeah.
You get stigmatized, or you stigmatize yourself.
Yeah.
You start to sort of pull away in odd ways. How did you realize that this wasn't on you?
Well, I'm still learning that every day. But you're right, Whoopi. I mean, there's like a scarlet letter for this. And if in 2019 we can't talk about these things and people still feel like they have to whisper about them, we're never going to be able to fix it. And
why do people whisper about it, do you think?
I think that we whisper about mental illness in this country. And, you know, we think about the analogy, which again came from one of my children. If someone dies from cancer, people aren't angry at that person. They're not embarrassed. There's no shame in that game. We need to start thinking of mental illness no differently than heart disease and cancer.
Absolutely.
And get rid of that stigma.
Well, remember, this is new for the United States. We used to put people away who had cancer. We used to hide folks and not talk about any of it. So it's not surprising that we're just sneaking up on it. But, you know, you have to remind yourself every day that, you know, you got to go forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so difficult because I guess when you lose someone like that, you think, well, what did I do? What could I have done? All those things must go through your head, right?
The blame, shame, anger, and guilt. And when I decided to share our story, one of the conditions was that it wasn't just our story, but the stories of other survivors that I met and that reached out to me, and I talk about them in the book. And we all have gone through that shame game, you know, from day one, and the blame, and the guilt, and the anger. So these are important emotions that we all have to kind of address head on.
You know, Dr. Ashton, we had Jill Biden on the show yesterday, and she was talking about grief and loss with us. You share your own process by saying that at times you felt angry, other times guilty about laughing, or just experienced some level of happiness. I relate to all of that. Grief is a tricky bastard. It just is. How have you been working through that, and does it get any easier?
I mean, I have been working through it because I've been educated that grief is really just love. You know, you don't grieve someone you didn't love. And so once you acknowledge that, I think you can almost welcome those feelings of grief a little bit. And then I learned another concept for the first time as we were going through the healing process called multiple truths, which is really this issue of how you, right, Whoopi? Like, you can feel tremendous pain and grief and sadness because of one thing, and then literally at the same time, joy, happiness, and one feeling does not negate the other. And you have to know that, or you'll never be able to recover.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
What else have you learned? Anything else?
Oh my God! I mean, you know, well, I'm learning. I'm learning every day, Joy. And you know, as any parent knows, my kids teach me every day. And one thing, you know, that I talk about in the book is that my kids, with their spirit, have really shown me how they live every day in a way that honors their father's spirit. I know you do too. And that's incredibly inspiring.
You know, you also talk about in the book about this new life in terms of living as a solo parent, which really means your kids only have one parent to rely upon now. And that in the time that's passed, that's been very scary for you.
You know, whether you're a solo parent by choice or you're a solo parent through the death of a spouse or the other parent, it's really scary and there's a lot of pressure. And I feel like if something happens to me, my kids will have no one. And, you know, the funny thing that happened, because there was a moment of comedy, when I finally found new love and I was Everglading, kayaking, and I sent my kids this picture saying, look at this picture. I was kayaking with alligators, and I sent her a picture, my daughter.
There it goes.
There's a 12-foot gator, and there I am with my love, Todd. And my daughter said, what's next? Bungee jumping, you know, you can't, you've got to be careful. And so, yeah.
You know what? That is a good point to end on, but thank you. Thank you for speaking out. You are impacting more lives than you even realize.
Thank you.
Our thanks, of course, to ABC News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Jennifer Ashton. And if you or someone you care about is struggling with thoughts of suicide, please know that you are not alone. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24/7. You can call 1-800-273-8255. And please go buy Life After Suicide. Dr. Ashton's book is available now, and members of our studio audience, you are going home with the book as well.
Thank you so much.